Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Breakthrough Advisor Podcast. I'm your host, Randy Yost with Simplicity InsurMark. And we all know the biggest challenge in financial services isn't performance, it's trust and, of course, compliance. The digital world moves at light speed, but our industry is tethered by regulation, making traditional marketing feel a bit risky and sometimes complicated. So we're past the days when a strong referral network was enough. Today, your prospective clients are doing their due diligence online before they ever even consider calling you. And they're searching for fiduciary guidance, looking for local expertise, and judging your credibility by your digital footprint. Yes, digital footprint. And that's why this episode today is non-negotiable listening. So we brought in David Anderson, a leading digital marketing strategist. He's the director of digital marketing here at Simplicity, who specializes in navigating high compliance industries. Today, we're cutting through the noise, the vanity metrics, the complicated platforms, and the fear of FINRA to give you a clear, compliant roadmap to digital growth. We're going to tackle the most critical questions facing your practice, how you create engaging content that still passes compliance, what the best way to dominate your local market through SEO and Google profile is, and most importantly, how do you use digital tools to not just find new clients, but amplify your existing referral business. So if you're ready to turn your website from a digital brochure into a high trust, high conversion asset, then stick with us here over the next half hour or so. David, I'm going to bring you into the conversation. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Welcome, and hope you're doing well, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about this topic. I think it is so relevant and really becoming more relevant by the day. So glad to spend some time to go over it with you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again. And just for those folks, obviously, I'm very familiar with you. We work together on exactly what we're talking about here today, digital strategies for our firm. And before we get started and kicked off, maybe tell us just a little bit about you and your background and how you ended up here as the director of digital marketing for us here at Simplicity.
Yeah, I'd love to. So I've been with Simplicity for just over 4 years now, sitting in a digital marketing role. But my background happens to be a lot heavier in analytics. So I kind of came from that point of view, getting into marketing. Actually, about 9 years ago now, I graduated college with my master's in business administration, and I just loved the idea of where does data come into play with consumer behavior, kind of like a psychology, marketing, and analytics mix. And so that's really evolved over the years, and especially here at Simplicity, we deal on a regular basis with so many different messages to different audiences. And so in my 4 years here, I've gotten to work across all of it. If we're messaging to consumers, to advisors, different channels, and I've seen it evolve greatly over the past 4 years, and it's something that we're having to adapt to constantly as well here.
No doubt about it. And I think our audience, our advisor community, they're asking a lot of questions about digital marketing right now. In your opinion, what do you see as the single biggest, maybe the most impactful shift that you've seen in consumer behavior over the last maybe 12 to 18 months? And how should financial advisors be adapting their overall marketing strategy right now?
Yeah. I mean, you hit on it in the beginning, actually. You said that a lot of consumers are performing their due diligence and their research online before they're actually even talking to a human. And in fact, I saw stats that that's as high as 90% of consumers are doing that. So you can imagine that that change has been recent in the past 12 to 18 months. And now having to adapt to that, where your brand, your company has to be spoken for by what your digital presence is, as opposed to you first. That's become so important. So, as a financial advisor, having to adapt and deal with that, we need to make sure we have more content readily available. But that content can't just be space filler. It's got to be high quality. It needs to be personalized. A lot of people are using video too as part of that due diligence. So not only are they just wanting to be online to research much more, they're wanting to kind of be spoken to about it and not have to really spend as much time doing the actual reading and research and diving into things. So that means a lot for advisors, right? When you're now saying your digital presence speaks first.
Yeah. Well, I think, you were mentioning about the content piece and, the rise of artificial intelligence. Obviously, it's here, man. And how is the rapid development of generative AI fundamentally changing the day-to-day workflow for a marketing professional like yourself? And what skills should financial advisors be prioritizing to stay relevant with this rise of AI?
I think it's kind of interesting, even given my 4 years here at Simplicity, I feel like just about 3, maybe 4 years ago, everyone started talking about AI. What is AI going to do? How is it going to affect us? Specifically, marketing. How is it going to help create more content? But for so long, it felt like we were just talking about it and not able to really wrap our minds around it, not able to utilize it yet, not sure how it's going to have an impact. I feel like very recently now we've come to a point where you kind of just have to jump in, whether you're familiar or not, whether you know how to use it, it's something that we're using. And I think advisors should too. One of the big benefits for it, I feel like when we're talking about your digital presence needs to speak online, well, you've got to have a lot of it. So that content creation is one big thing we can rely on AI for. That used to take a lot of time, expertise, and as financial advisors, you don't really have the time to do that. You don't have the time to create long form videos, short form videos, blog posts, articles, whatever it might be. That's challenging, but you need to do it now. So that's one benefit we've seen with AI is helping draft content. It analyzes a lot of great data too. If you can drop in data, whether it's insights, survey results, something you have just on your clients, trying to see like, hey, what's a similarity between our client data? It's really great for that. But one thing I think we've had to learn, and then we would coach advisors in their practice to be aware of is you still need to be seen no longer as a content creator, but more of a strategic editor now, right? You can have the copy generated for you, but you need to make sure it speaks your voice, it speaks your values, and also that it's correct on the bottom line. Like sometimes it does make mistakes. We've come across it. And so that's kind of a big thing. Also, compliance issues. We could go on for a while about compliance, but that's one big thing AI maybe won't know about. But as you become more familiar with prompting and how to get the right guidance for AI, I think you can really generate pretty decent content, still needing the advisor to learn that prompting, to be the compliance kind of auditor, make sure it's authentic and make sure it's valuable.
I think we'll just continue the conversation here with our friends, Mr. Compliance and the King content. How can financial advisors balance the critical need for compliance, FINRA, SEC rules, et cetera, with the demand for engaging, timely, and personal content, particularly, I guess, more specifically on video platforms like YouTube and LinkedIn?
Yeah, those are a little bit different when you talk about platforms that are video and it's not really content people are consuming, reading through or anything. So the compliance can be a little bit different there. Um, One thing I would know, I think there's a common misconception that for something to be compliant, it's bland or boring and not engaging. But now the art here is how can we take that content that is compliant and make it valuable to the consumer, make it engaging, make them want to spend the time to consume it. Like we said before, I'll probably keep going back to this. Everyone's doing that research online. They're not going to do it. They're going to jump somewhere else if it's not engaging. And so I think one thing to focus on to try and remain compliant yet engaging is taking this approach of an educator. There's a lot of people out there just looking for information, things that they are not aware about, new developments. You don't have to be someone who's constantly forecasting what the market's going to do or giving advice on here's what you need to look for in 6 months. This is going to happen. That's where you err on that compliant issue. I think what's more valuable for people right now is the education. It helps them build trust. It helps them know you're a credible source. And it's also engaging because people like to learn, and that's what they're consuming this content online for. So you would ask specifically more about YouTube, LinkedIn, video platforms. It's a great way to educate consumers using video because it can be engaging, sometimes challenging. 30 seconds or less is probably ideal for a short form video on a platform like LinkedIn. But YouTube, you might be able to get a little bit more long form content on there and actually dive into a topic people really find relevant or interesting today.
Yeah, I think, and you touched on it just a little bit earlier, the word trust, and specifically in the digital presence, if you will, in a business built on trust, what specific digital marketing activities or content types are most effective for a financial advisor to build authority and credibility with maybe high net worth clients who often conduct significant due diligence before even making contact with an advisor?
Yeah, that's a great question and really built on to what we were just talking through. So, long form content for high net worth is incredibly important. And by long form, it doesn't have to just be like a video that's a couple minutes long. It could be articles that really dive into some details on certain developments. Posts even can kind of get to that longer form content. But with high net worth, they're not just looking for trust. I think everybody's out there looking for trust. They want to know going to you, you're credible, you know what you're gonna do, you have their best interest in mind. And high net worth, I think, takes that to another level, right? They more so want to feel like you can speak into their situation better than anybody else. You're educated to, you have the credibility to, but not only that, they want to trust you, they want to know you're credible, and they're looking for that. They also want to know what to expect when they're working with you, right? You want to paint kind of a clear line. And so, some valuable content we've seen and we help people produce is simple videos like, hey, here's what you can expect in our first appointment. You'll walk through the door, you're going to meet our gatekeeper, our person up front, our receptionist, whoever it is. They're going to welcome you, and then you're going to come sit with me, and I'm going to take 15 minutes to just get to know you and know your situation, know what you're looking for. That's what people want to hear. They don't want to say, they're not researching to find what products you have and what your immediate solutions are. They want to know you have a process in place and a philosophy in place of understanding the problem, because for high net worth, it's not the same problem everyone faces, and they're all coming from different areas. So knowing that's your focus is valuable, whether that's through the videos like I suggested. It can be articles, it could be an FAQ. Honestly, a lot of people utilize that on a website because they want to know before getting, stepping into an office, what to expect.
I think it's all about knowing and understanding your audience, choosing your channels right, that kind of thing. Many advisors operate as fiduciaries, of course, especially with qualified money. We're all fiduciaries. How should their digital messaging and tone and positioning be fundamentally different from a maybe a non-fiduciary or a commission-based sales professional to highlight this crucial distinction and convert clients who value that standard of fiduciary?
Yeah, I think bottom line, it has to be different. It must be different. It's an advantage that the fiduciary has to talk about what that actually means when it comes to working with them. And so I think it's that important that not only in the digital messaging, which we can get into more specifics there, but in the way everything's conducted for that business, it's got to focus on what does that fiduciary standard actually mean. And I think that's becoming more common and more talked about today. And so when we're looking at how do you communicate that through digital marketing and your tone, your messaging, how you're positioning yourself, it shouldn't be like you're advertising. Your digital marketing message shouldn't be you feeling like you're trying to sell. And that's not what a fiduciary does. A fiduciary is an advocate, right, for the consumer. They're there to represent their best interests. So make that known in your messaging. Um, I kind of keep saying this. I think it's just relevant across everybody, but especially here at the fiduciary level, that educational value, it's going to help build trust. They'll realize, oh, they want me to understand the solution fully. They want to include me in this process and help me be informed. They're not just trying to sell me and get me through the door and back out. So I think in the messaging, uh, that educational standpoint, talking about risks, we talk a lot about 6 key retirement risks that everyone's going to face. We don't have, that's definitely another podcast. It's another time for sure. But those risks are real to everybody, no matter where you come from, whether you're high net worth or not. There's risks of mortality, longevity, liquidity, inflation, taxes. It's something that should be talked about. And for a fiduciary, it should be the core of what they're talking about, right? So, um, from a simple standpoint, it could even just be this messaging of, I'm on your side and I'm not compensated for my sales. I'm compensated to sit here and work with you and advise you you know, with you alongside you. So I hope that answers your question at least decently well. Of like, bottom line, it has to be different, but it's an advantage that they have. So communicate it through marketing and everything you do.
Yeah, I think great advice. And for our advisor listeners that are tuning in and listening here, obviously it's important to distinguish yourself from others in the marketplace, that fiduciary component, and making sure that your clients understand who you are, I think is really, really important. Changing gears, local authority and SEO for advisors focused on maybe a specific geographic market. What are two or three most effective and compliant local SEO or digital strategies that must be implemented to dominate search results and map pack visibility? Google profile business, it may be specifically in their target city or even neighborhood.
Yeah, this is an interesting question because I think a lot of times when we start talking about digital marketing specifically, you're almost unlocking a national presence. You can really increase your scope, but the most important thing is that local authority, that local presence, right? Maybe a lot of advisors, for sure a lot of advisors are not equipped to handle national client bases. Some are and they could expand, but the first thing you need to master is that local authority and presence. And so you mentioned one, the Google business profile. I mean, that's an easy place to start always. There's videos on how to set it up, how to optimize it, and actually utilize it. It's not just saying, hey, here's my business listing, making it easier for people to find you. It's actually establishing a relevant kind of presence in your neighborhood, in your local area. You have the ability to have posts, have reviews on there. Those are important in establishing SEO and credibility. And especially that local area. One thing with Google Business you can do is kind of make sure every asset you have is linked to the same address. Seems simple, but sometimes that doesn't happen. It's not everywhere. That's a huge boost in SEO to make sure, oh, this is a real business. They have this central location that all of their profiles, LinkedIn, Google, their website, it's all driving to this one place. And then a interesting element of that, I mentioned this before, is FAQ sections. You actually can incorporate that into those profiles. And that helps more. SEO is not just looking for the authority, but it's looking for credibility. Are you reliable? And I think FAQs really help there. Another simple thing, kind of to, SEO is tricky, sometimes hard to do on your own, especially very well. But these simple wins like the Google business profile, making sure your content's pretty localized. So across your website, maybe you're posting a new blog, an article, or maybe you even have a header on a page that's saying, hey, a financial advisor in Phoenix. That's where I am in Phoenix. So just using that as an example. But even just having these city, state, region specific details listed out on your sites and your content really optimizes your local presence. It's going to be found that, oh, this is a trusted, reliable source close by to where the person is searching for it. Let's be able to, push those organic results across there.
Yeah.
One more quick thing kind of to add to that is there's a lot of, I also spent some time working on broadcast marketing, but a lot of what they had to adapt to was this digital presence too. We can't just let people be locally broadcasting. And when you think of local, that's a great way to go. TV shows, radio shows, things like that. They also had to start leveraging things like local directories and indexes. And hey, here's a local Phoenix business finder, whatever it might be. There's so many of those out there. It's just worth going to them and listing your business. A lot of easy wins that are very doable without having to really dive into the, very enhanced and advanced SEO.
Well, awesome. I know you mentioned you're from Phoenix earlier. I'm in Houston, and Houston, we have solutions. So if you're looking for solutions to fix these problems in your practice, be sure to reach out to us here at Simplicity InsurMark. We'd love to have a conversation with you. Switching gears, and of course, we all love new clients, but referrals, as we all know, are the lifeblood of most practices. How can digital marketing be used not just to acquire new clients, but specifically to amplify and encourage high quality referrals from a financial advisor's existing client base? Any thoughts around that?
Yeah, definitely. I think referrals specifically, can be tricky sometimes. Some people are very comfortable asking for it, and we've had advisors that are very successful saying, "I solely run off of referrals, and I figured out how to do it, in person. I figured out how to do it digitally, so many different ways." But others maybe are saying, "I don't really love having those conversations. They're tough conversations sometimes." A digital route for referrals is a great way to start. Whether you aren't doing it at all, are scared to do it in any way, sharing content with your current clients that is relevant, timely, and informational makes it very easy for them to then share with their friends, their close family, whoever it is they're talking to. How many times these simple, like little nuggets of wisdom might come up in conversation? They're saying, "Oh, I just got an article about this from my financial advisor. I'm going to send it to you." This is a great way to equip them. And you're not really necessarily asking for that referral, right? You're just giving them content that is easy for them to share, related with them in some way, and then they know, I want to help other people. It helped me. I think I can send this to my friends. So focusing on content that's shareable. It could be videos, guides, checklists. Sometimes we see people doing like a client only email, kind of exclusive feeling, and they might feel like they're on the inside of something. Like, I've got this knowledge that not everybody can have, so I want to share it and seem a little bit credible. That can always happen. Um, and I think especially this time of year, we get a lot of, there's a great time of year to ask for referrals because we get so many kind of like social security government related updates, right? If it's the cost of living adjustment that comes out in October, November, tax brackets for the next year, all that stuff comes out about now. And that is relevant to everybody. So being able to share that to clients, sometimes you can ask, hey, forward this to people who might have questions about it. I think those are easy wins to not only get referrals, but kind of enhance it across a digital platform as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. One of the questions I get a lot from advisors that are dipping their toe in the digital space, especially in the age of short form video and infinite scrolling, what does quality content actually mean? We all talk about content as king. How can financial brands create content that cuts through the noise and actually builds a lasting connection with their audience?
Yeah, I think all of us can relate to this from a consumer standpoint. We're all consumers of something, and we are constantly bombarded with messaging, and not all, I wouldn't say a lot of it's quality. It's almost the digital age, probably in the past year, maybe a little bit more than that, has transformed to like how much of a presence can you have? What can you get out there, as opposed to is it valuable? Does it actually? Is it real? Is it reliable? Um, and is it useful? So I think that's the first place to look is, am I just trying to be noise out there and compete with the noise? No matter what, you have to compete with it. So the best way to stand out from it is make sure it has high quality, educational, useful content in it. I can think of just scrolling social media or websites, all the different types of attention grabbing headlines you see, right? It's this, hey, how 80% are missing this and what it's costing them, or how to do this in 30 seconds or less. The reason people are doing that is because it does grab attention. If you know, oh, it's less than 30 seconds to do this, it's not going to take a lot of my time. Let me check it out. That's one thing. But then to actually follow through on that promise is another. And that's where that quality content is. It's not just attention grabbing, but it does deliver the value that it promised. And so I think there's some easy solutions to kind of cut through that noise with the short form video, 30-second videos saying, hey, here's something I've learned working with tech, young tech employees in Phoenix, and something that if that resonates with the person viewing it, they're going to click on that. They're saying, that's me. I'm that person. They have something I could learn there. So I think that quality line is blurred for sure. But it needs to grab attention, be relatable, identify a pain point. I think we talk about that a lot in marketing. Haven't said it yet today, but being able to resonate with someone where they say, that's me and that's the problem I face. I feel that. I have the emotional reaction when I read this. That's huge in marketing. And so much content out there doesn't do that. It passes over it.
100% agree. And one of the questions I get a lot from advisors in the marketplace, especially when we talk about marketing, is that three letters, ROI, return on investment.
Yep.
When it comes to digital marketing, which vanity metrics are marketers still obsessed with that they should maybe ignore? And what is the one true North Star metric that you use to measure business success from digital marketing efforts and campaigns?
Yeah, those vanity metrics, really piggybacking off what I was just talking about. Like, people are putting out content out there to get likes, to get followers, impressions, views, even clicks to something, but those truly don't amount to anything. Yes, I'm not saying it's not important to put out content on social media that's engaging followers, getting comments, getting likes, but in the end, that's not a metric that measures ROI. You're really just talking about, what am I out there kind of getting verification that what I'm posting is relevant, I guess. But when we want to talk about what's working, what's worth putting money behind, and like your North Star metric you're mentioning, I would kind of break it into two. Like, maybe one's kind of like a smaller than the North Star, kind of guiding you that direction, and the North Star is there behind it. But the first one would be quality conversations, right? It's not just about getting the likes, the followers, impressions, or views. It's about, did I book a conversation with them, a meeting, an appointment that actually went somewhere? I could tell they had an issue that they knew I could solve, I could speak to. I think that's one good metric to look at, of course, right? It's that first step to predict ROI and what's coming from it. But the most important, what I'd say, is the North Star, would be looking at, what is the lifetime value generated by this specific ad. If we're trying to compare between email, social media, you can look at things like SEO, even on what is that generating. The thing that really matters is creating a client in the financial advisor business isn't just a one-time transaction. I think a lot of people can view it that way, but no, you're really trying to bring on a client for life. And we talked about referrals and what can come from that, but the marketing that creates those lifetime clients that come back, and you develop a relationship with and trust with, and they really come to you to help with all their financial questions, that's valuable. And knowing how that compares to what it costs to acquire them, so I would say that lifetime value over the lifetime cost, that's your true ROI. It's not just a single transaction, it's longer than that. Actually, I think a lot of people even maybe stop a step short and say, well, I ran this ad, I got 3 clients, closed this many cases of business, but it's not done yet. It could still result in these longer term. And believe it or not, depending on your target audience and your specific solution you want to really zero in on, different marketing platforms will create longer lasting relationships than others. They might, typically it also coincides with being a longer tail to bring them in and develop that relationship. But we see that a lot of the time. It's a long journey, but it also has a long tail to it.
I think that's really the key takeaway for our advisor community is it's not a short game, right? This is a long game. We had one advisor, and we know this stuff works. One of our advisors, he brought in over $250 million of new AUM in just 9 months. And the only marketing that he does and the only focus is digital marketing, mostly focused on the LinkedIn platform. So it took him a while to get some runway, but once that train got going, it doesn't seem to be slowing down, and he's having just phenomenal success and really become an authority in his marketplace. And speaking of advisors kind of getting into digital marketing, I know that a lot of advisors have apprehension, and there's so much going on, so many different options. In today's landscape, if a brand had to choose maybe only one channel, I don't know, SEO, paid social, email, or maybe a specific platform of some type to focus their limited resources on for the highest ROI, so to speak, which one might you recommend and why?
Yeah, that's a great question. Kind of a tough question, because I think there's a few ways to look at it. If I'm talking the safest, because again, as we said, it does take time, even with the help of AI generating content, maybe even generating processes and workflows for you. You still have to be there executing it, and maybe you have a partner to help you with it. Maybe it's just you. I think if you had to direct your attention to one place, it would probably be email. And I know that doesn't sound very exciting. It actually sounds pretty a lot of work, a long process to do. But the reason why is we find that across all these other platforms, if you're getting someone to respond to a social ad, if even if you're just showing up in an ad, but they don't respond in any way, you're making an impression. But at any given time, only 3% of people are ready to make a purchase at that time. So maybe you're capturing those 3% on other channels, but email is the tool you use to get people when they're ready finally. So I think it's most important to focus efforts around kind of an email nurture idea, right? You might get a lead information from somewhere, but even if you have nothing else, emails that are consistent and relevant are going to convert more clients over time than any other method. And I think it's because you can really tailor them, you can personalize them. You start to learn through email metrics. The way every platform works today is you can have behavioral triggers, you get the data and analytics back immediately on email, and you start to learn what people engage with and what they might be interested in. And then over time, you're able to personalize that content, really hit on their pain point and provide the solution. So I think if you just had to focus on one, it's definitely email. um, Hopefully you have a website, at least basic to start to. I guess I would go there. If you don't have that, that's number one, but that's kind of like just get it done. And then now let's focus on some efforts. So yeah, I would have to just start there with email. Some other things like video, YouTube, LinkedIn are starting to become more important in this industry, but I think they're exciting right now, but email is kind of that always reliable method.
And I love your answer with that, because to me, in the world that we live in today, that's one of those components that literally could be automated and set up and running campaigns through automation that doesn't take a lot of time and effort ultimately. And if you're looking for solutions, folks, we've got some of the best automated digital marketing campaigns in the marketplace. So feel free to, of course, reach out to us. Now, David, you've had an illustrious career here. I always love to ask this question, what we learn from our mistakes, but maybe what's one major mistake that you made in digital marketing, and what's the lesson you learned from it that maybe our advisor listeners can apply today?
Yeah, I can think of a lot of different things I've tried to do, maybe done too much. I think the main thing, like one mistake I made, and this really does build off this previous answer actually, is if you're starting from kind of the beginning, you can't do it all at once. You cannot jump in and take over everything. You cannot get social media going and email and build a website and make videos. It's too much. And whether you're at that space or you're not, I've learned that the hard way is when your focus is shifted across so many different areas, it's kind of a negative impact. Actually, your time's not maximized in any way across one of them. Even if you're dividing up 20% of your time across 5 areas, the effort you're giving each one is not 20% anyways. But if you can focus in on just one or two things, preferably maybe one, if we're saying let's try and maximize something, you can give that full attention, full focus, and get it where it needs to be. So I've learned that in my career of, and sometimes it's so easy to be caught in this kind of like dream state of, oh, we could do this and we could expand this over here and we could use AI to do this, and all I'm doing is dreaming and there's just no action. And I think the best thing to do is just take a step back and say, what would make the biggest difference right now and help me build to get to this point where we can do all these other things. And I think we've seen that across digital marketing here at Simplicity, of like, there's always exciting new offerings we could go explore, but we might be missing some of the basics. And let's go back to that and focus there.
Yeah, I love that response. Action, action, action,
Yeah.
It's so true. All the best information in the world or ideas in the world are nothing without that actionable next step. And certainly that rings true, I know, to a lot of our listeners out there as well. I know we've taken a lot of your time here today, David, but just to kind of wrap up, what is maybe one core marketing philosophy or principle that you believe will always be true, regardless of what new platform or technology emerges maybe next year? Any ideas or final thoughts with us here today?
Yeah, I do think that it really is a nature of the industry that we're in, is that it's such a think of the consumer who's worked their entire lives or is working or planned their entire lives for their retirement and what that's going to look like and dreamt it and has that mapped out. One of the biggest decisions they'll make is who are they going to work with to help them partner through that. And because of the nature of that, I think there's two elements to this that won't ever change in marketing in our industry. Is they're looking for trust, connection, and credibility first. We've said it already. I don't imagine that ever going away. Whatever technology you can throw out there, they're just going to use that technology, that platform to decide, can I trust this person? And are they credible, for me to spend time with? Will I learn? Do I feel like they have the right solution for me? And the second part of that is it's always going to be a relationship. I mean, this is piggyback offing it, but it's not transactional. That's not the business we're in. It's not a thank you, come back when you need me, see you again. It's how can I help grow this relationship so that whatever problems you may face, whatever you might have, you can come back to me for this. And we've seen it happen over the years, right? Like the marketing in this industry has evolved so much from print and broadcast, radio, TV to digital, and still all those are important and have a place in that ecosystem for marketing. But at the core of it is this evaluation of, can I trust this person with what I've worked my whole life for? And I don't think that's going to go away.
Massive. Absolutely. Well, David, thank you so much for joining us here today. I know you've spent a lot of time with us here, and I know you're super, super busy, but we appreciate, and I know all of our advisor listeners appreciate you sharing some insight around digital marketing here with us today. So with that, folks, that brings us to the end of another inspiring episode of Breakthrough Advisor Podcast. We hope today's discussion has given you, the dedicated financial advisor, some fresh ideas and clear pathways to tackle those common barriers in your practice. Remember, building a thriving retirement income business is absolutely within your reach. So if you found today's discussion valuable, please take a moment to share this episode with maybe a colleague or a friend who needs a breakthrough. So join us next time as we continue our mission to inspire advisors and the strategies and mindset needed to achieve the biggest professional goals out there. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, keep breaking through those barriers and building the successful business that, of course, you deserve. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Breakthrough Advisor Podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of InsurMark. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only.